Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone present here to this insightful session on GitHub open source. I hope you all are excited for the first session of Techaman 2.0. As a computer science student, we all have heard about open source, but there is always a dilemma from where to start and what to do. But don't worry, all your doubts will be resolved today. Contributing to open source can be a rewarding way to learn, teach, and build experience in just any skill you can imagine. Now, I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Kumar Shivam. He is a talented open source developer, and recently his proposal has been selected in Google Summer of Code 2021 under Joomla. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Kamal. So, hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank IEEE Department of Chandigarh University for this opportunity. I'm Kumar Shivam, studying in final year at Chandigarh University and currently enrolled in Google Summer of Code 2021 under Joomla organization. So, I'm a web developer and a software developer who is highly enthusiastic about open source and their contributions. So, we all are here to talk about like what is open source projects, how you can contribute more, and how you can learn more. So, there are many things which we have to keep in mind before knowing the things about the software engineering. The main thing is the main purpose to be a part to become a software engineer is the path of the self learning. Self learning is a way where you can learn more, where you can grow more. So open source is all about to learning the things by your own. So I would like to say that, so to contribute in open source, to be a part of an open source, you always have to be an open-minded. Like an open-minded person can achieve a great success in a path of the open source. So my journey has been started in last year for the Google Summer of Code. I have been applied to many organizations, so I'm not sure about how to contribute to the open source projects, how to write a good documentation, how to present a good proposals. So first of all, I get a rejection from Google Summer of Code, and just I have started a week ago from the last deadlines of the Google Summer of Code. So this is really heartbreaking for me. So for this year, I have created one strategy. Like before implementing something, before achieving something, you have to make your own strategy, like how you gonna pursue that. So like open source project, and to contribute in that open source project, all you need to know about is Git and the GitHub. So what is Git? So Git is a command line interface. Git is nothing. It is a version control. Like it helps to manage something between the many peoples who are contributing to the same project. So the word comes code, projects, programs. You may all get confused. Some of them confused that some of them still don't know how to write a good piece of code. Even I still don't know how to write a good piece of code for some kind of domains. So you have to be specific what choices are yours. Like you like web development, or you like Android development, you like machine learning path, you like artificial intelligence path. So there are various domains which you can work. You have to choose your own interest. Like I'm a good I have a good role in web development, so I will go with the full stack web developer role. I have a good sound knowledge of the iOS and the Android, so I will go with the Flutter and the Android developer role. I have a good knowledge of Python and the libraries, so I will go with the machine learning path. So you have to be specific with some language, with some domains which you want to work for, right? So in an open source, we all are getting a word similar like open source. What does it mean? So open source, like there are some several platforms which are mainly known as GitHub. So there are several platforms like GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. They are just an open source cloud platform which are organizing the projects and collaborating with the team members to come and use the projects to change the source code there. So I'm giving you an example. So some simple examples, like in your very initial stage of the college, first year, second year, third year, you are getting some projects for from the college side to submit to get a good credit for your semester, right? So to submit that project, you are creating your team like a 4 to 5 members. So the one member have a work on front end, one member have a work on back end, another members are creating a documentation. So one person created a front end part, second person created a back end part. So once they completed, they send the code to others. Once they completed, they send back the code to others. So there may be some confusions, like which persons write which part of code. Like, is the code is matching with the whole project? Is there is something to change? So these are the things which ones have to keep in mind manually all the time, to record all the things, to manage all the things for your coding projects, for your documentation part. You have to manage everything manually. So there is one simple and a version control software which is named as Git. Git is working in a simple command lines. Like, you want to, like, they I have put my project in GitHub. You want to copy that project. So there is nothing new, nothing rocket science in this. You just use your Git command and you write git push, git pull, there are commit, git clone. So you just copy the project in your local repository. You want to change something right there, so you just find the code which I want to add. You have to say, be specific which part of code you want to add. You added your contribution, you give back the code to the GitHub by using the Git. So using the Git, so the code manager, who is the admin of the project, see what kind of changes you have made there. If the changes are can be acceptable by them, they will accept your change and they will merge your code. So this is just a simple like this. So I would suggest that open source is much better than the internship what you are searching now. Right? Many of you have a rush in mind, like, we want an internship, we want to add a certificate on LinkedIn to show off our skills. Like, it seems good, but it does not always be a perfect choice to do an internship, right? So open source projects are non-profitable. First of all thing, we want to know that open source projects are non-profitable. You have to do to gain a communication skills, gain a good knowledge of coding skills, and a good development. You will build a leadership quality when you work with in an open source project. You build a leadership quality in yourself which will help you in your futures, right? And you have many questions arises in your mind, like how open source projects will help in our curriculum, how open source projects will help in to get a placement. So I will clear this all the things one by one. So, as many of you are in the initial stage of your career, right? Many of your students are from first year, many of the second year and third year. So uh, these are the times where you can learn new things and explore new things in a much better way. You have you have a good plenty of times from asides of college to learn, to explore everything, every individual technology, every individual domain. You can go and study, like, what kind of technology is used for what purposes, how I can learn these things more, how I can help other, how I can get the help from others. So these are the parts. So there are many open source platform. Like, one of the most popular is Google Summer of Code, right? Which is provided by the Google, and it every year it started in the January. It started in the January. So you have a question arises, like, if it started in January, should I started contributing in January to the open source platform? No, you can start the contribution from now onwards. You just have to be specific, like which part of coding, which language you are knowing. Like, if you know HTML, if you know C language, if you know basic C++, you know JavaScript, these all are enough, more than enough to contribute to any open source project. Like, any specific language, you have to be specific. You have to be a good writer in the sense, like, when you write, you have to be a representable. Your writing should be a representable, like people will grasp what you write, people will grasp as a knowledge. So you have to be a good writer when you are contributing to open source project, say. So there you can find, if you go to GitHub, you can directly search, like, these languages are known to me. I know HTML language, so I am doing web development projects. I am knowing C language, C++ language. I am doing this kind of things, right? So You have to be specific. You go to GitHub directly. The first step which I am saying, that simply download the Git. You can search in your Google search bar Git version control. Download the Git. This is a simple command line interface software. You will download it. There is one documentation provided. The documentation have a default command lines which are used to get the code from GitHub, push the code back to the GitHub, commit the changes, get back the changes, what were happening there. So first thing is you have to do is you have to use the Git. Download the Git from the Google or any browser you are using, right? So the second step is coming, right? I have downloaded Git. Which kind of project should I started contributing from now? So you have to be specific, like work for a month, 2 month, 3 month, whatever you prefer. Like I have worked personally for 6 months on a web development part. So I search about the web development projects and I get a Joomla. Joomla is a community which is working in a web development projects, just same as a WordPress and Drupal. So you have to be specific. You have to be start from your journey from right now. Like these are the language I like. These are the things I want to contribute for. These are the technology I want to play with. So I will learn these all things, right? So second things you have to be keep in mind, like search the Git, search in a GitHub bar, like any specific language. There is an advanced option, search there, like the C++, HTML, JavaScript, whatever is known to you, search that. There are thousands and millions of projects are there. Thousands and millions of projects are there where you can search, like these are the projects which are known to me. These are the language which I can work for. These are the things which I can work for. So select a specific project. Don't go for the like at the same time HTML, JavaScript, CSS, like these are the different platforms. So don't go for the every individual at the same time. Choose a single task, choose a single language, choose a single technology at a one time. Select a specific projects. Go, and the first thing you have to do is when you go in a project, you don't have to worry about there are 20,000 of lines of code, 1 lakh lines of code, 50,000 of lines of code. How it is possible to learn and read every line of code and to understand them, to implement and to contribute? No, don't get this kind of rush. You just have to be specific. Like once there is an option fork, use the git version control. Clone that project in your local laptop or PC, and again go back to the repository which you have forked, right? So there is one option behind code bar, issues. When you click on the issues, there is always an advanced search option is label. Go through the label, search the first good issue. There is always a purple color label which is called as first good issue. This label will help you to get the issues which are for the beginner. Like organizations, open source organizations have to keep in mind, like whatever they are performing in an open source is for everyone. Like everyone around the globe have the time to contribute, to learn the things more and more. Either we are an beginner, either we are an pro level at the same things. So search the good first level thing. For try to read these things are there are errors are given already. Try to search the errors in your Stack Overflow. You can use Stack Exchange. There are plenty of things. YouTube. You can ask your mentors. You can ask your seniors to like these kind of problems I'm getting in my code. How I can resolve this. So once you get that these kind of problem, try to learn this. So get back. There are files are also given, like these errors are coming in the specific files. You go through the code, you go through the specific files, you can see there are several times there are maybe a variable conditions, like you just have to change the variables. So it is sometimes you have to add some conditions, sometimes you have to create a good piece of code. Like creating a good piece of code means the time complexity will be good. Like you don't have to use the for loop again and again. You have to create a function. It will be help to create a good to work in a good time complexity. So once you done with this, again push back the code. Again push back the code to the Git repository using the Git version control. So there are simple commands like git add, git commit, and git push. These are the three commands which are used to push back the code. Once you push back your code, the origin the origin have a code maintainers, like the code maintainers who will search like these part of the codes have been contributed by them. So now we are going to see is the code is correct or not. If the code is wrong, they will help you to correct the code. So these are the good qualities of the open source. Like people are always helpful there. If you don't know how to contribute, you can simply comment like, I don't know this kind of specific domains, how I can contribute to more, right? So there are specific plenty of things which will help you there, and the open source projects are the people already working are very open minded there. Okay, so there are nothing to worry about, like I don't know anything, how I can start it. Simply go and comment, I know this part of things, can you help me so I can contribute more. People will always help you. So my Google summer of code journey is started with the same. Like I fork some of the repository which are the a part of my interest, like Android, cybersecurity, and web development. I try to find the issues. Like the issues are always recorded there. I have searched like these are the specific issues. How I have to contribute more there. So when I started the searching in the issues, there are plenty of things I find that people are continuously 24 hours around. They are contributing to the same project. Like they are not worried about to gain the stipend, they are not worried about to gain the certificate. These all are things have been done to raise the community. Like if you are if you are promoting, if you are contributing your code for Python, like so you are appraising the Python, you are uplifting the Python community to raise more, right? So these are the some ethics to contribute to open source. So first I search for the good first issues which can be solved from me. I see there are very simple kind of issues, like I don't know like Node.js, React.js in real how to use that. But when I go through the issues, I find that many of the in the same projects I got to learn PHP, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, XML. Like there are plenty of things that I read and learn in 1 week of the times, right? So you can begin the same. Just fork some of the projects from your kind of interest, like these are the my interest and I want to contribute this part of the code, and when to start a part of the coding, right? So there is nothing a word like coding. Like coding is a word which will many of the people get depressed, right? So people many of the people don't like coding. In reality we are sounding like we like coding, but many of the people don't like coding. So when the terms coding comes in any arena, we are getting some kind of nervous, like this is a part of coding, how I can contribute. I don't know a single piece of code. I haven't written my in my 2 years, in my back 2 years I haven't written. To be honest, I personally I didn't read a single line of code in my 2 years. I just started in my after the fourth semester. I just started in the lockdown begins, when the corona pandemic begins. I started learning the coding. I started learning the web development part, which initially began my part of interest. So these are the things which help me, right? So you can start anytime, you can start now, you can start after your graduation, you can start before your graduation. So you can start any time of the time. There's nothing time bounded that if you don't learn the code in second year and your colleagues, your classmates are learning some things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, don't be a part of a peer pressure. So you must start, right? You can contribute to open source projects in many ways. The first is the code, the main. The second is the document. The third is you can recheck the code. Like I have submitted some part of code, but you don't know how to contribute the same part of, but you can check my code, like is the spaces are correct, is the syntax are correct. So you can recheck the code. So there are plenty of things where you can contribute. There are nothing specific like coding. You can also work on documentation part, like you can create a documents for the specific things. Like if I have added some kind of system plugins, if I say I have added one and I have contributed some kind of theme, some kind of bitmojis, some kind of like system plugins to an organization softwares. So you can create a documents. This is also a part of a contributing to an open source project, right? So some of the very famous open source projects, open source platform, I mean, open source platforms are like Google Summer of Code. Yeah. It is beginning in January of every year, right? And the second is mega league hacking. It will come at a certain time. There are spring and summer. There are two times, spring, winter, and summer. There are 3 to 2 stages of this project. The third is outreach selected very specific students only. Okay, and the third is girls script of code, right? Girls script of code is for everyone, not for the specific girls, right? The fourth and the fourth is the linux foundation mentorship. So there are the plenty, I think 15 to 20 open source platform where you can create your proposal, where you can be a part of the open source community. You can learn from now onwards, right? So talking about my in Google Summer of Code, I have found that Google Summer of Code, the first thing you have to keep in mind that your proposal should be accurate. Right? Writing a proposal of 10 to 20 pages of proposal is a kind of hectic in a one day, right? So you have to start from 2 to 3 months backwards. You will how you will start, right? So when the Google Summer of Code begins, we are not a part of a Google. We are a part of the organizations to whom we are contributing our code, right? So you have to be up. You when a Google Summer of Code begins in January, many organizations comes and give the proposals to the Google, right? So Google accepts, like, these are the organizations with whom we are working, and with them they are submitting their project. So there are specific many organization, right? So when an organization is announced, like in a month of February or March, many organizations are announces. So when you see, like, organizations are getting announced, you can check whether these organizations are the web development part, these organizations are the machine learning part, these organizations are for the Android development part. So I will be specific, like these are the main organizations which are selected every year. You can see in Google Summer of Code archive also, many organizations are getting selected every continuously year. So these are the plus point. So if you check, like Joomla, like Python, TensorFlow, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, these are the organizations which are participating every year, right? So you just have to select the project from now onwards. Like, if these organizations are participating, how I can contribute more? Go to GitHub, search the specific organization which are participating every year. So this will be helpful to you. And in the same way, when you see, like, these are the organizations are participating, I can work for them. So when the organization announce, organization each organization announces 5 to 6 projects, and they are linked to link on the Google Summer of Code websites also. So when you check the Google Summer of Code website, there are all the links are presented already. So you have to go to each of the links. You have to see, like, there are levels are also mentioned, like these are the projects are the for the beginners, these are the medium, and these are the for the hard level. So if you are a beginner, you have to choose, like, if you know HTML, you have to choose, like, these are the easy projects, I will work for them, right? So when you select the easy part of the project, you have to create a proposal. Like, if I have a if I have a piece of land, I want to create a home, I will select you to give you an idea, so you can create how you will gonna implement the proposal, how you will gonna implement a house there. So you will give me a proposal, right? The documentation part. So proposal will be very specific. What are the things are concluded in your proposal? So before getting ahead, I would like to show some the proposals which are selected from my side to the Joomla community. So is it visible? Yeah. So the proposal which is selected is here for the Google Summer of Code is, like, you have to start for the personal details, like what are the personal details included: name, university, email, telephone, instant messaging, GitHub, and the time zone. So you are working with people from around the globe, like you're in your community, people from Germany, USA, UK, Japan, any other country. Many people are there, many students are there, many mentors are there. Mentors are specified in your the organization itself. So you have to choose the mentors, that these are the mentors with whom I am working. You have to mention this about me. You have to write a good paragraph. You don't have to copy this from your Google or anywhere. You have to write it your own. Yeah, you have to write something about me, like what are the achievements, what you are pursuing currently now, what are the achievements you have to. And like there is a one thing, like how many hours you can contribute to an open source project. Do you have to be specific with this? Okay, so there is another thing is overview. For any organization, if you want to contribute for, you have to be specific. You have to know the organization from very early, so they will be like, they will be amazed to have a such candidate who are already knowing the organization. And they will be at the point of the this is a plus point. If you write about the organization, this is a plus point in your proposal too. So the last thing, you have to write the project descriptions, like these are the projects mentioned by organizations. I'm going to write my proposal. You have to begin your proposal, as I said, 2 to 3 months early. Like what, first month you have created one piece of proposals, you have to get review from the others, like is this correct, is the correct way of submitting a proposals. Some people say that you have to clarify these things, you have to correct these things to improve a better proposal. So once you write 2 to 3 proposals, the last one will be always get better. So you have to write a project descriptions. Okay, so project goal, how you want to implement that. Like I have mentioned that my project goals, like how I want to implement. So there are certain points I have mentioned how I want to implement. Then the after the implementation, the part is coming like testing. You have to test your code with your own. Like after testing your part of code, you have to write the documentation part, right? Then after that, you have to mention your timeline. Like at what timeline you, what are the things you gonna do. Your mentors are very helpful. Open source projects, the community with whom we are working, people are very helpful. So you don't have to worry from your initial stage that I don't know anything. Yeah, how to contribute, how to write a good documentation, people always help you. So what are the timelines, like breakdowns of the timelines? These are the main things. Timelines is always need to be specific. At what time, what are the things we are going to do, commit with the organization, right? So you can see for the every month, for the every week, I have written certain kind of work which I am going to implement for the organization. So after that, you will see that after this all happen, you will see what kind of expectations you are from the mentor. Your implementation part, like these are the your implementation part, how you gonna implement, what are the skills you have, right? So there are the one thing, right? After the implementation part, you have to write your technical knowledge, right? As I written when I'm last year in third year, so I've written this. These are my programming languages I know known to. These are the web technologies I have used. These are the databases, Git data structure. So and what kind of projects have you made a similar projects earlier also? So you have to be specific with certain kind of thing, right? So why an organization choose you? So why an organization choose you? You have to create a good profile against them, that I'm good for the specific piece of job, please provide me. So you have to write your own. Like I already said, the as a good writer you are, you're always going to be selected in any open source organization. So continuing from here, if you have any question, please write in chat. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. There are some queries.
Yeah.
Okay, so one query is that I had completed Java and C++. Now
Yeah.
I am learning web development. Should I learn advanced Python and Django for the web?
Yeah, see, Python and Django are the platform. Django is a framework, right? Python is a language. Django, mainly we call it as a Django. Django is a framework. Django is participated in Google Summer of Code also. You can learn that. But what I'm saying that before learning any language, learn to implement that language, right? We are using that mainly. Copying and pasting is not a solution. If you know, if you are good in Java, if you are good in C++, these are the language. Open source is all about development. These are not related to your data structure algorithm. These are not related to your printing pattern in your lab, like you are printing a hello world program or a printing pattern. These are not related to these kind of stuffs. You have to learn the development things, like the development, like I already said, that web development, Android development, machine learning, like these are the part of the development which any organization, like these are the real world project. When you be a part of an open source community, you are working in a real world project. So any person, you and me, if you get enrolled in an open source projects, you have a label that you are working in a real world scenario. So for real world scenario, you have to be specific. Is the project require Python? Is the project require Django? Is the thing, if the thing is required by the project and you are interested, then you can learn, you can contribute. And these are the, yeah, I can say, if the project requires, you have to learn, you have to be specific.
Okay, so I hope the query is resolved. There is another query. What is your interest in open source?
Yeah. So what the first thing I like about the open source is the community management, the leadership skills you are getting, the community management you are learning, like how to manage a people from globe. Like at the same time, like is there 5:30 around here? Germany have a time of 2 o'clock at night, say at the same time. So you have to be manage the community things. Like before coding, you have to be specific to create a good community, to create a good environment. The first thing I like about the open source is open source community is always a working, is always a fruitful environment where you can learn, where you can, if you create a mistake there, people will always resolve you.
Okay, so there was another question. Yeah. Do companies provide any importance to open source contribution?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, so there are some specific company you have to be like, we all know data structure and algorithms are the main part of to get a place in any companies. Like either it is a service based companies or a product based company. So data structure and algorithm are the main part, focusing part. So an open source, as I already told you, open source is a all about the real world project. When you working in a real world project, you are already working in a company project. Like learn the difference, right? You are already working in a company project. The company always give you a good, always keep your candidature as a good, as you are already have a experience to work in a real world project. Like software development is not just about writing a code, it's all about creating a good documentation, good communication skill, good piece of code with a good leadership quality.
Okay. There's another question which says, what is your view on GitHub CoPilot? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I say, like GitHub Copilot, right? So as I say, GitHub is an cloud-based platform. So GitHub is an cloud-based platform. So there is something that you can say that GitHub Copilot is, if you check regularly, if you check regularly, people come and contribute their projects regularly. If you see the way of managing the projects, like your every single of code at every single point of time is being managed by the GitHub. These are the some things, like if you contribute regularly, your contribution have been counted, and this will create a good GitHub profile. Is always mandatory for a good placement scenario. For an open source, to be a part of an open source community, a good GitHub profile is always required.
Absolutely. Okay, so I hope we are done with the questions. Any more questions? Uh, which language is best for game designing?
Like there is nothing specific, like C++ is have been used from very early time, right? C++ with a, and the framework which people are using is Unity. But as the time are crossing, what I prefer from my side, like everyone have their own preference. Like what I prefer from my side, like Java script, a language which you can use for the web development, as an Android development, as a game development, or as a part of your learning of the journey of the basic codings also. So what I prefer is a JavaScript, and the things which are going already is in mainly in C++, C sharp also, C++ also, JavaScript also. These are, you have to be specific what suits you.
Okay, thank you for answering the questions. Okay, so this were all the questions. There is one more, my own personal question. Like
Yes.
how we can recognize a project, like this is the project where I have to contribute.
Yeah,
So how
exactly.
can we recognize that project? Because there are
Yeah,
multiple of projects, no?
there are millions of projects actually. So there are, when you, as I already told you, which language you have a command, in which
Like I
language you have
have
a good command.
web, so in web
Yes,
development I have command in web development. So if I go
web
there in
development. Yes, yes,
I,
please continue.
when I go in GitHub, I like type in there web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all these terminologies. So there will be like thousands and millions of projects. Will
Yes.
I like scroll and read each one of the project like this one is for
No,
me or not?
no, no,
That
no. The pro tip which I want to give you, like you have to always check a star. There is a one option star. Once you check that, if a community projects have a more stars, then you get to know that this project is currently working. The more the stars, the more people are contributing to the project, the more you help, the more help you get there. So like I'm giving an example, like when I started Google Summer of Code, like last year, just I started a week ago. Like there's a deadline in April, and I just started my proposal a week ago. So I didn't contributed something, so basic contributions are required. So a community bonding, which I say, like if I know you personally, I will absolutely select you, right? So these are the community bonding you have to begin. And what I say, like I have started from HTML. I simply search HTML. Is there any project related to HTML? As we all know, HTML simple tag language, we can fix any kind of issues. I simply search HTML. I have seen the star, the more the stars, I have go through the projects. There is a one tab beside the code is issues. When you go to issues, there are on options called labels. When you go to labels, there are tag called good first issue, purple color tag, good first issue. When you click them, some of the issues which are already covered for the beginners. When you go through the issue, if you know already, you simply fork the project, use the git version control. You can check the git version control documentation. Like before learning any softwares, before working on any softwares, always read the documentation of the software, is the first thing, right? So when you see like these are the good first issues, how I can contribute it. So if you know, simply fork the project, try to solve it issue, run the project locally in your, like if you are an enthusiast about web development, you know about the XAMPP server, LAMP server, right? Run the project in your local host. See, these are the issues organizations are facing. Am I able to solve this issue in my local repository, in my local computer? If you able to solve this repository by your own, that's a good point. Simply push back the code, like give back the code to the organization. Okay. Or if you are unable, if you are unknown to the code, like how I have to start, right? These are the first thing. We are all, many of have a fear of writing code. Many of, like we always think like if I write this kind of thing, if the things get wrong, how how I will achieve, how I will learn. Like to get in an open source, what I personally experience is to contribute to a one project, to contribute to a one line of code, you have to be get rejected first for 100 lines of code. Once your hundreds of contributions get rejected, then the others contributions always get accepted. Like these are the best practices. Learn to adapt failure first. See, so go to the basic issues, write down your comments, like I am a beginner here, I want to contribute to this organization. Please help me to resolve this issue. From where I have to start? People always helpful. They will provide you a certain documentation. You have to read that documentation. You have, and after reading that documentation, never worried. how my code look like, is my syntax is good, if my spacing is good, is my variables look good. Never worried about these things. Just push back your code. If the code is 10%, if the code is also 10% good, they will try to improve you. They will guide you. Like, these are the part you have corrected is good. These are the part you have to work for, and they will help you to correct the 90% of the things. Like, open source is much better. Like, I will say that open source is always helpful, so you never have to worry. Like, these are the things how to shortlist the project. Just see the star, go through the issues, write down your comments there. I am a new here, how I have to contribute. People always help you.
Thank you so much for resolving this query. There is one more query from Harsh Modi. Should I prefer iOS development over Android?
Yeah, see, uh, these questions are related to your personal, like, you want to earn money as a freelancer for iOS development, you want to learn skills, so you have to be specific, right? As you see, iOS developments are good. iOS developments have a limited resources, right? You have to learn Swift language. Mainly the Flutter has come. If you write a code in a Flutter, the same code will run for the Android as well as iOS. So the language is known as Dart, D-A-R-T, Dart. It is a language which is used for both iOS and for the Android. So if you see for the market side of purpose, like if you want to earn money by creating your own app, then go with the Android, right? And if you want to create a new challenge, like if you want to tackle a new challenge and solve a new challenge, then please go with the iOS. And it has a limited resource, so you have an option to create some of the things by your own.
Thank you. There is another question. Should I make web development project using Bootstrap?
Yeah, see, Bootstrap is nothing but a CSS framework. Like, for people around 2015-16 uses HTML with CSS. Like, then people for the front end part. Then the SAS, it is also a language which then come over CSS. Then a Bootstrap, latest version is Bootstrap 5. Bootstraps helps you to write a good piece of CSS. Like, Bootstrap is a framework. Whenever you are working in a front end, Bootstrap is all for the front end part. Whenever you are working for the front end development, what I prefer, always use the Bootstrap. The latest version is Bootstrap 5. And the link, I want to say that go with the dev.io. Dev.io, this is a specific link where you can find I may say thousands of resources, and these are the documentations which are published by the company itself. There are thousands of resources regarding Bootstrap, PHP, JavaScript, whatever the skills we are need to work for the web development side. So Bootstrap, working with a Bootstrap is a good idea. You have to learn Bootstrap, how to use a Bootstrap. It is just a 1 to 3 day task.
So I hope the query is resolved regarding Bootstrap. It's good to use Bootstrap. What are the major skills students need to become open source contributor at GSO, Google Summer of Code?
Yeah. So you don't have to gain any skill to be a part of a Google Summer of Code. First thing, whenever, like, the first thing we all are experiencing in our student phase is like a peer pressure. Like, if we see our friends are learning something, we all want to learn these things. Why you want to learn these things? Just because your friends are learning? In 2 year of college, I didn't learn anything. To be honest, in 2 year of college, I didn't learn of anything, just not because of a peer pressure. I personally don't want to learn anything, right? So to be a part of a Google Summer of Contributor, you just have to be a good communicator. The once you start your good communication skills, people always help you. The skills which are required is the basics of everything. Whatever if you prefer, as you said, you prefer personally web development, like, JavaScript, HTML, you have to learn just the basics of the things. Like, these are the syntax, these are the functions, these are the loops which are going to work for a code. You just have to know the basics, nothing else. Basics are enough.
Okay. So I hope, yeah, there is one more. You had to go to GitHub. You can't just copy paste the code. Some code of lines you will get useful, whereas some of you had to write on your own. So,
Yeah, yeah. See, writing your own piece of code is for the last long, right? If you write anything, if you write any a piece of variable also, if you copy the code from the internet, this will never gonna help you in your entire life. So writing your, please take the help from the other, take the help from the same code which are published by the other people also. So take the code from there, try to understand what are the things they have changed, what are the functions, what are the tools they have used in this code. So try to implement the code by yourself. I already said that once you imply your own code, your error for the first time will come, for the 100 times, for the 200 times you will get failed. But the self motivations always work. And the open source and the software engineering is all about the self learning. None of the college is going to help you, none of your classmates are going to help you. Whatever you learn, whatever you implement is for the last long. So what I suggest is always write the code by your own. Never get the fear of your the failure, like if my code are getting error, like people are getting frustrated. Personally, I get frustrated like when the codes get error, like we don't want to work on a single piece of a code for the whole day. So I say that for the 100 times of failures you will get one success.
thank you for resolving all the queries. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. So, there are no more queries. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for this
mm,
insightful session. And thank you, everyone, for being such a great audience. Thank you. I hope you will start contributing in open source. And from today onwards, from right now, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
yeah. The last thing I want to say that if you created your good profile in an open source, this will help you in a placement scenarios. Like if you see, like there are, we all know about the dream packages company. We all know, like we always said, uh, I want a company with a good package of 10 lakh or more than that, right? So open source contributions always help you to get a good company. If you know about the hacker rank and the red hat, right? Hacker rank always select the people who are contributing to the open source continuously, and the packages are already good, 18 to 21 lakh hacker rank for the beginner, right? Red hat also have the same package, 15 lakh and above. They are also selecting only and only open source contributors. You have to know the specific ts and algo, these are the main focus part. But open source contributions is a plus point in the scene of the placements also.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for this insightful information. In order to get this certificate for this particular session, there's a feedback form which will be shared. You have to fill that feedback form about the session so that you can get the certificate. It has been shared in the chat box, so you have to just fill that form in order to get the certificate. So that was all about this session. Thank you, everyone. I hope you are excited for the session 2 also the same way as you were excited for the session 1. It was a great and wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you, Kumar. Yeah, thank you.